Okay. All right, so I'll have to work on that. So we're on unit 2 this week. And we're going to try to do a little deeper dive in the Unity editor and how it works here. Talk a little bit about coding. Talk about, and we looked a little bit all, we move around in the editor and the windows. We're going to continue to do that. There are some key components. One of them is called prefabs. We'll be looking at prefabs. We'll also be looking at the Unity asset store and the package manager. And again, we looked a little bit at those last week, but we'll look at more at how they all work together here. And there'll be a number of different kind of game environments for you to try out here. So we'll go through this introductory stuff and this talk about the manual here. And then there's this puzzle kit kind of environment you can learn in. We'll do some more with rollerball. We started rollerball last week. We can work some more with that. And then there's a 2D kind of example here to show you what 2D is like a little bit. It's an RPG creator kind of kit. And there's a little walkthrough there for you to try out. This reminds me of the old classic Pokemon kind of games, sort of stuff. Wander around a 2D area. Right, yes. So, and that sort of stuff. So, so there'll be, and again, you want to do your 20 points worth of work here. So we're just going to start going in the introduction to Unity area. So I'm just going to show you this video. There's a unit, this overview video. It's good to walk through. Again, it just walks you through what are the different screens, what do they do, and how to move around the screens. So again, if you need some more on that, this is it's an older video, but again, the screens and the layout of the screen still match well. We'll be pulling some stuff from this teaching game design kind of course that they have in Unity Learn. Throughout this course. So there are different parts of this. And again, some of these they've removed at different times, and some of them they're still good. Some of them I have to redo in order to have us use them because again, some of these are a little older. But for example, the project, the creator kit, we'll be doing that in this week. This RPG is from this activity. The rollerball is from this activity. They're showing it's deprecated. They actually have a new version of rollerball, which is what we're using here. And then next week, we'll start the beginning scripting stuff and move on to intermediate scripting after that. So again, just wanted to show you where I'm getting some of these resources from here. And you can kind of see some of this stuff they haven't replaced or updated. So here. So we're gonna be mixing and matching from that here. Now there's an older tutorial, and we're not doing this because it's almost, I think, too simple. It's kind of like Unity without coding sort of stuff. Here called the Unity Playground. So we're skipping over that project in here. Again, if you want to look at it or work on it a little bit on your own, that's fine. But I think it's a little bit too basic for this course here. So
you just found variables.
Yeah, no variables. So you're not in that. So okay. So we're gonna jump in and do our own little kind of Unity review game here, pulling some assets in. We're going to use these character controllers out there and bring those in. And then once we get done, we're going to try to talk about prefabs and what prefabs are using these kind of sample games. So I'm going to go through this. We're going to create a new game and import some stuff into it. So in Unity here, I've got Unity Hub written or created. I'm going to do a new game here. Now, there are, if you remember correctly, remember back there are there's three different pipelines here. The built-in or core standard pipeline, the universal render pipeline, the URP, and then some high definition pipeline here. And you can, you need slightly different control or, assets for each one. So there's assets for this basic one or this universal one. Today, I'm going to just try to do a basic core asset thing here. So rather than doing a URP version, I'm going to just do this 3D core environment. And I'm going to give it some names. So this is going to be my character controller sample. For that. So again, give it some name. We'll be using these character controllers, so I might suggest putting that somewhere in the name. And we're going to just create that project here. Oops, I opened it up in the wrong version of the editor. So, and now in this asset thing, now how do we get assets into here? And it's kind of a 2 or 3-step process. First, we have to go to the asset store and often purchase these assets, even the free ones here. So we're going to use the third-person controller. And you'll probably we're certainly be using a first-person controller too at some point. So you might want to purchase that at the same time. So you want to go here to the asset store. And this is the starter asset, the third-person controller example. And again, mine says open in Unity here, but I think if you haven't purchased it, it'll say purchase there. So that's what we want to do is purchase this there. Can you look, what does it say when you go to the asset store for this? What's this link? Yeah?
Yeah, it says add it to my assets.
Add it to my assets.
Click it again, accept.
Okay, yeah, add it to your assets, accept. So that's what we want to do is add it to your assets and accept it here for this stuff. Okay, let me go back, see how we're doing. This blazing fast computer is starting up yet. Oops. Not yet. Okay, and again, there's the first person controller. You might want to make sure you have added that. And again, at times we'll be using the URP versions of this. So the URP ones are also here. Now the URP has them both combined, the first and the third person combined into one package, which is kind of nice. Okay, once we get those assets inside, we're going to go into Unity here and open them up in the package manager here. So inside Unity, you're going to go to Windows, Package Manager. Like this. And it'll open up this special Package Manager screen here, and you want to find them here for this. So right now at the top, it says Packages in Project. We want to switch that probably to say My Assets here. Now you can also add a search here. I have a lot of assets I've picked up various times. So I'm just gonna start by saying starter assets here. And again, there's the character controller URP or the first person or third person. We're just gonna do the third person, not the URP version of it. So we're gonna find that and we're going to, if it's not downloaded here, we're gonna download it here, and then we're gonna install it.
Question.
Yes.
It's if I hit import, since this Unity package has package manager dependency.
Yes, when it asks for package manager dependencies, make sure you bring in the dependencies.
Yep.
Yes, you want to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna have you do, I'm gonna switch, like I said, I accidentally brought in the older version of Unity. So I'm actually gonna close this down, switch back here and switch this to Unity 2023 and open it up that way. Yay. Oh, really? You got an email with the serial number?
Yeah, I just had to go in it.
Okay, yeah,
So I'm opening it the first time, so it's all.
yes, yes. So the first time you open some of these things, it takes a while, so. Now we'll look at other things. There's a fair amount of free assets in the Unity store, and then there's a lot of assets you can just purchase for a small amount, price. And we'll talk about using those stuff. And I'll provide you also some assets as we go through things. Now we'll be looking at these two character controllers, the first person and the third person. And today I'm going to try to focus on the third person because you see it a little bit. And I think you're all familiar with first person and third person games. So a third person game, you see your character ahead of, in the screen, right? There. And so you're controlling it as if you are almost a puppeteer walking behind it, right? And then you've obviously played, I think, first person games where you are the controller and the camera's right there. And you don't really see your controller. You don't know what you even look like often there.
I have no.
And but you might see your gun or your weapon or your arm or something like that ahead of you, but generally you don't see much. And so there are these first person controllers out there also, and we'll look at those. Okay, so let's go back. So I didn't install, so I'm going to go to package manager again. I'm going to make sure I'm in my assets and search for starter assets, and I want to do this starter asset third person controller. This updates, but it's not the URP version. So I'm going to make sure I download that and import this version into my project. Again, there might be dependencies. Make sure you install and update any dependencies. There might be other packages that this package needs to run. And often we might have to update some of our packages to get to this.
This is the menu to get to that screen here.
This is just Windows Package Manager to get to this. And again, if you are in the Unity store and you hit import into Unity, it'll switch back to your open game and bring up the package manager also. So that's another way to get to there is if you are here and you hit open in Unity, that will open your package manager in your currently open Unity packet or project. Okay. So now this also says that this package uses the new input system. Do you want to use that? And again, we want to say yes, we want to enable the new input system. So when this comes up, make sure you say yes. Here. Now this package is pretty complicated. And so again, we have to do a couple things like this the first time we use it. Once we get into our game, we won't have to work with it again for that. So. Okay, finally, hopefully it gets to here. Oops. So it had finally got to part to import the assets, but then it was also restarting itself. So it didn't actually import the asset. I'll do that again. I've seen this before. Again, it restarted the editor to enable the new input system. And when we see videos, we'll see a number of things about the new input system. There's an older, 10-year-old input system. It's not bad, but not as flexible as the new one. And so, and then you can use both of them simultaneously, kind of if you want, or have one or the other enabled. And we will tend to use this newer one going forward. So we'll see. Okay, I'm going to close this package manager and look, and I don't see if I look at my assets here, I should see a starting assets or starting package here or stuff, and I don't see it. So again, I didn't quite get it imported correctly. I'm going to go back to the asset store, no, not the package manager, and go to my assets, find the starter character controller here. Oops. The third person controller here and import it again. So this is the screen I want. It should list all the new assets and there should be an import button. So I want to make sure I hit that import button. Okay, now I should see in my assets a starter asset folder. So there's the scenes, which is in when I start my game up, which is my blank starter scene. But now there should be starter assets. And then under that, there should be a third person controller folder. And in that should be scenes. And there should be a scene called playground. So this is where we want you to try to get to the playground scene. So see if you can get to this playground scene here. And we don't want it to look pink like this. So tell me if it looks pink for you. Pink?
This is what we do have.
Yes. Okay. So pink usually means something's not rendered correctly. Here, I don't know why. I think we did. Usually it means you maybe brought in a URP asset for a non-URP thing, and I didn't think that was right here. But anyway, it seems to be pink. So if you see pink, it's usually everything's pink. Something's wrong with your rendering stuff. Go to File. Now go to Edit Project Settings. And there should be a graphics option here. So Edit Project Settings, Graphics, and then the default render pipeline is now set to none. So if you click on that and just click on the starting assets one, click on this start here. So if I click on this little dot, 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 or little target, I can select either none or starting assets. I'm going to confirm the starting asset pipeline. It will redo some importing and then we should look better for this. So I think these new starting assets are on the URP now to look at because it's bringing in the URP pipeline here, even though we didn't bring in the URP ones. I think the way they upgraded them, they might be in the URP. Okay, so you should want to see this kind of screen. So again, if you don't see that, go to Edit, Project Settings, Graphics, right at the top, click on this dot, 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 and make sure you've selected the starter asset pipeline there. And then you should see this scene. Let's see if we can get there. And tell me when you're getting there. So, got there? Jeff, are you there? Is this what?
It's
Almost?
wait,
It's
wait,
getting there.
I got the pink thing. Where, how to fix the pink thing? Got it.
So if you, when you get to the pink thing, go to Edit, Project Settings, Graphics, and then click on the pipeline at the top. Switch that to this starting one. Click on
I
that.
thought I did that. What? Download the phone.
What?
Uh,
So, yeah. Oh, so, okay, yeah, and then make sure you are in the right scene. So go back and make sure you go to starter assets, third person controller, scenes, and find the playground scene.
yes. It's purple.
Yes.
Okay.
You're still,
I
does it
have
look,
a shape
is that the playground one?
in theory, yes.
On mine, you had to sort of zoom through that blue section.
Oh, okay. So, and if you get here and you can't see, just double click on player armature and that'll get you to the player.
There's stuff way over there.
Yeah. So if there's stuff in your scene on the hierarchy, you can double click on it and you can go to that area. It'll help. So this is what we want. We want to find this scene.
Like,
And then you can try it out. Hit play to try this out.
oh my word, we're walking. We'll destroy them.
So we can walk around.
Oh my word, I can jump.
And again, normal stuff, shift to run, space to jump. Right, you have mouse to look, right? And then hit stop to stop playing. And then right now you've got a default figure, kind of a robot-like first-person figure. One thing nice about this controller is we'll see we can drop in different meshes. And so if we have a different character, we can drop it in here to this character controller and work with a different mesh for this. So again, this has the player, what's called the player armature, which is the character. It has the camera, and the player follow camera is this little object where the camera, it helps the camera move behind, and you can then control, because again, you have a fair amount of control over where you want the camera to be as you move around for this.
The shadow moves too.
Yeah.
What's my coffee at? I don't.
There isn't, there's just carpet, it's one big kind of plane, and then there's a carpeted kind of plane in here for this, so. I'm waiting forever. Okay, so. Now, one thing to watch here is, there in the, well, let's just do our quick review. here. So I'm in the standard layout, the default layout. So I have my hierarchy over here. This shows my different areas inside my screen. And again, I can double click on them to get over there. If you look under the environment, you can see that opens up here and shows you lots of different things. So there are all these boxes around. Those are all inside the environment, and you can double click on them to see the different boxes that are out there. So again, often we'll create an object. Well, it's a hierarchy, so an object can hold other objects here. Now, let's try to move this object here. So like find one of the crates and double click on it until you just get that crate selected. The first time you probably select the whole environment. And then if you click again, you'll select that one crate and see if you can move a single crate around for that. Okay, so try to click on a object and move it around for this.
There's the memo, you just died.
Okay.
If you say your move, you think that you get there fast. For no reason at all, do I know this?
Now you will see some objects that are made up of other objects and they move together as one unit here. So like if I click on these boxes over here, each box is unique. And when I move one, I move the other. But again, if I click on this, kind of the tunnel, orange tunnel, it can move as one object there. And so that says tunnel prefab. And so we're going to learn a little bit about what prefabs are as we go through this and work on things. You also see in your menu over here, we've talked about the hand. Yeah, I'm going to click off of this. So I'm in prefab mode here. I'm going to get out of prefab mode. Let's see. There.
Just to get together, and then we fall.
So again, if you get into prefab mode where it shows you in prefab mode, you can click back in the hierarchy on a different object and you should be able to get out of that mode there. So. Okay, so let's try to add. So we're here. Let's try to add some objects of our own to this field and see how they interact. So go to game object, create a 3D object, and create a cube or a capsule or any one of these starting ones. I'm just going to create a cube and put it there on the screen.
No. That's experience a large. That's very low. Large.
Now, cubes should have a rigid a collider and stuff, so you should be able to not walk in or through a cube if you put a cube or something like that on your screen for that. So. Remember, we also talked about meshes, materials, and right now I have a gray cube. If I want to make it a certain color, I can make that a certain color here. So I can right click in my assets folder and create a new material to add to that. I can say create a material. And maybe call this Tom Blue or something like that. And again, we have a base map here. We can change this to some value. Apply it to the cube.
I think it's a sprint on your thing and then just like get extra. Okay, this is my cube. I'm standing on my view.
Now if you want to copy something and use it again and again, you could, just do a copy and paste on an object, copy paste, and it'll paste it right on top, and then you can drag it to a new location. So you can create, copy, paste another version of these objects. So I'm using Control C, Control V to do copy paste, but you can go up to your edit menu, and choose copy paste here. And so now I have these 3 different cubes. I could put them on top of each other or something like that. But now each one is unique. And if I had a whole bunch of these and I wanted to say, oh, I want to change the color on all of them, how would I go about doing that? Or make them all different size? I go, oh, now that I look at it, I want to be able to jump on these and they're too big to jump on. How would I resize all of these objects here? Maybe for this stuff. And again, if I resize one of the objects here, so if I scale one of them down, it only scales that one object, not the other objects. So what we often want to do is create what is called a prefab. A prefab is an object that we've kind of saved in our assets folder, and then we can reuse here for this. It's kind of like making an object into a variable or an object, what we can reuse. So if I have one of these objects here and I drag it, not here. If I create an object here, I drag it into my assets folder and drop it, it'll make a prefab of that object for this. Now notice up here, my normal objects were white lettering and white thing. Now when I drogged this cube 2 down here, it became a blue asset. This is a prefab, and then we usually rename them. We'll call it like cube prefab or something like that. Or we'll put it in a special folder called prefabs so we can know that there are prefabs. Now, once I have that, I can drag that onto the screen as many times as I want and make these prefabs. Also, if I do things like, I'm going to make another material so that I can switch back and forth through a Tom Green. And with prefabs, if you change their characteristics, you can change the original prefab so that all the prefabs mirror that, or you can kind of adjust the characteristics of one prefab so it's not exactly like the original prefabs here. So if I take this new material and drag it onto one of these, then that is not my original prefab. That's slightly different than that. But if I were to edit a prefab and modify that prefab, so if I double click on my prefab, it brings up this special view of just the prefab. If I were to change something in that special edited prefab way, and then go back, now all of my prefabs are changed. So how do you get in that prefab mode? If you double click on the prefab in your assets, it'll put you into prefab mode. It'll say where it's kind of shows you the C or the hierarchy, it'll just be your prefab there. I think also in your scene, if you double click on that prefab, somehow I've gotten there.
Okay, it's very good.
That's good. So again, we can modify these prefabs and create prefabs for these. So we could have like a small blue box prefab and a big green box prefab and have them on our screen. In fact, that's how this all works. So let's look at how this is set up. If I look at my asset folder under starter assets, under environment, there's a prefabs folder with things like a box, a 100 box, a 350 box here. There are stairs here. There's a tunnel prefab that I could put out on the scene.
So like you said stairs, because I was ready to make stairs all by myself. Why, yes.
So again, try going under, again, starter assets, environment, prefabs will be all the different prefabs for this world. And again, I created a prefab. I was in the scenes folder and I created this prefab. I'm going to move it into this prefab folder. Also under art, there are the materials. I'm going to move the materials I have into that folder also. So again, one thing you want to do is try to keep things organized in your area. So again, we often will have prefab folders, and we might have we actually have two different prefab folders, one for the third-person controller and one for the environment. They both have prefab folders. Now, if we wanted to look at the character prefab folder stuff, if I go to, again, starter assets, third-person controller prefabs, the player armature is the character controller here. So if I drag that on there, I can see another character controller here, armature. Now, only one of them is going to work at a time generally for this. And in order for these to work, delete this other one. Let's see, did I delete the right one? Yep, okay. So again, if I get out of the environment, to work with a character controller, we need the player armature, the player follower, and the main camera all have to be kind of tied together. The main camera has to be using this player follow camera thing that's here, and that the player armature has to see. Yeah, I thought maybe it's the player follow camera. Yeah, it has to be tied to the player camera root here on what to follow for this. So if you are creating a new scene here, you've got to set this all up. And I thought, find the tutorials. I have to look. We'll learn more about these character controllers, how to manipulate them later on, and how to add them to the scene stuff. So I don't want to go in here. I just want to get you used to kind of moving around the scene, adding objects, and this whole idea of prefab, and how to that some objects are created as prefabs, and sometimes some objects, if you just create an object, it's not a prefab here. But generally, we want to, if any object you're going to use more than once, you should create it and then make it into a prefab here. The last thing I guess I will mention is the, in the inspector and stuff. Now, if we look like at the player armature object, let's look at what's over here. We have just the name over here and then a tag for this as tagged as a player. There's a number of built-in tags here, and then we can create our own tags, which we'll see later on here. This is the transform. This is where it's at, the position, rotation, scale. When you modify these change. And when we're often changing things, the location of this will change for this. We have the animator. We'll get into that. We'll have the character controller. And again, this is the script or the part that's controlling this. And there's a bunch of things you can adjust, slope limits, all these things. So we'll look at how you can control and make this character more interesting here. And then there's a script that's running, this third-person controller script, and there's more stuff you can set within that character controller. And eventually we'll be modifying the code in this third-person character controller script to do things. There's also a push script that lets you kind of manipulate other objects. The player input controls the input system here. And again, there's also the start assets input script. So we'll look at those later on more. But again, depending on what object you choose, you'll see different actions over here. I'm just going to show you the first person one relatively quick too. So I'm going to import that into the same example here. So I'm just going to go back to my package manager. Under assets, I'm going to find the first person controller, download that if it's not downloaded, import it into the project. Hit this import here. And one thing you notice has a lot of shared assets with the third person one. So it'll show a lot of things that it doesn't have to import now with this one.
That's if you're proud.
So again, now that I've done this under starter assets, there's the third person, but there should be a first person controller. Under scenes, there should be a playground scene that I can open up also. Now, the first person controller is just a capsule, generally, that kind of controls where you can go and where you can fit. So there's a capsule with the camera and stuff. Now, if I play this, it's just your kind of traditional first person look. You can move around, and wherever you look, you move that direction. You can jump, you can run, stuff like that. But again, we don't see the controller at all when we work on this. But again, we do go upstairs and all that stuff for that. So this is the traditional first person controller for this. Okay, any questions before we leave our little sample game?
But-
We'll have the third person controller stuff, like the character. Stuff on the files and the object higher.
Okay. What do you have when you look under assets? What do you see under assets?
The starter assets.
Okay, inside starter assets, go inside that. So what do you think you're missing?
I don't have a character stuff. When I go into third person controller, all I have is scenes.
Oh, interesting. Somehow it may not have all got imported correctly. So try to go back to your Windows package manager. Find your starter third person controller. And you might, if it says in project, do a re-import. If you click on that little arrow, do a re-import. Now, this is the import window. Let me move this off to the side so we can see it a little better. This is the import window, and you should, want to select everything here for it. Now, some stuff's already, a lot of my stuff is already imported here. But again, you should be able to select all and make sure you import everything to get it all in there. Okay, see how that works. Any other questions on this?
I figured out how to make an auto jump.
It's not letting me press all.
I think every tool, some of it's already imported, so I think that's why somebody doesn't have checks.
Sounds like such.
Yeah, this is version like 1.1.5. So this, again, what we imported and make sure that the all this to import.
You definitely can come.
I've not seen that before. Do you have, how much disk space do you have on your hard drive? What?
Probably.
No, what?
Doing this, I have the same problem.
Okay,
Giving the no reference.
huh,
It's like the
4, right,
I agree important.
huh, so which, that was the puzzle one? Okay, we'll take a look at that in just a sec, so I'm not, and so you have enough disk space, so, huh. Well, I'm gonna go on and maybe we'll try to look at this later. What I try to do maybe is create a new project. And try to import it again in there. That's not sure why this isn't working, so. Okay, I'm gonna close this out. So let's look at some of the activities and try to get you set up so you can do some of those this week for this. So the first one, well, here, let's do the Unity manual first, I guess, because I want to make sure I don't forget that. The Unity manual has a lot of good documentation in it here. So you can go there. There's different versions of the manual up here for things, so you can adjust what version you're seeing. And again, there's then all these different things, how to install Unity. And then there's the normal search the manual for stuff. So again, when we're working on scripting or looking for things, we'll often finding things in the manual here are useful, especially when you get to some new area like coroutines. You probably don't know what a coroutine is, but it has a nice overview of coroutines and examples of that. So at times we'll be pointing to the manual. So again, sometimes I find some manuals are written very much, you have to look up this function or this function. This one has some really nice, like almost textbook-like chapters that you can go through and look at and see different things. So just want to encourage you to maybe do some reading of the manual. Okay, now, again, there's these different tutorials here. The puzzle kit is a fun little, again, it's mainly set up so you can just get used to moving around the editor and the 3D world and that sort of stuff for this. Now, again, it's out of date, so I had to create a new one, a new version of this so you can open it up. So download this sample game here if you want to try this out. It's large, of course, like all these are. I'm gonna unzip it here. And then I'm gonna go back into Unity Hub and open it up there. So again, I want to download it and unzip it here, and then go to Unity Hub. So this is almost unzipping it. So in Unity Hub, then once it's all unzipped, I want to add it here. So I can add project from disk, go find that folder and add it as a project. It'll show up here and I can then open it up. And then there's this tutorial that you can run. That kind of walks you through, get started at this. Talks about trying the game out and running the game. And some notes for 2019. So those notes really don't apply. And then a little tutorial on how to design your own little puzzle world here. So let's see if I can get this running. It's still, oops. I'd say it contains compilation errors. I don't think. I'd opened this up already with 2023 and didn't have any errors. So I'm kind of. And everything in red here. So I'm wondering if it's because I'm in some default mode again. I'm going to switch the project settings, graphics. I have a render pipeline. I have to try this again. Miles, you were able to get the puzzle thing to open up, but or not? It just
I opened it. Like, sort of tested. Like, the tutorial says, go to this.
right. Yeah. Yeah, it should open up just like this. The first time it didn't, and then I reopened it up and it should open up with this test scene.
Yeah, that's it, it does.
Okay,
But then
but when you run it, you don't get this running. Now I do get an error here. If I go to the console, I get this null reference or object reference not set to an instance of an object. Target group weight control weight.
that's what I get, but it's. The bubbles left. If I click it,
Oh, yeah. So Jordan, if you get an error like this, you should be able to double click on it. It should open up the offending script in Visual Studio and bring you that line. So that's what I'm doing to see if I can figure out. I haven't figured out this license thing on this Visual Studio. It's running, yeah, I got to switch this to run the. We remember last time we switched to Visual Studio Community Edition, so I've got to do that here. So I have to look for my. Preferences, external tools, and make sure that this is going to the Community Edition here. Okay, now let's try this again. So have the rest of you been able to get this project to run, the puzzle project?
So
Still unzipping.
we're at 6.
One thing I suggest is if you have 7-zip, you always use that to unzip rather than the Windows zipper. 7-zip is so much faster, so these lab machines will have 7-zip. Is a
I got a error while unzipping.
Oh, are you getting the one where it's like file name is too long?
Yeah.
Oh.
3 times while unzip. So it's hard to get-
that might be causing problems. I wonder. It's a good. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I did. It didn't work.
So
Because I think if you download from the asset store, it's not updated, and so I had to make a couple changes to it. That's why I'm having you download this version of it. You should watch where you're unzipping. If you're getting the name too long, I don't know why Windows Haven has this rule, but again, the path can't be too long. And so depending on where you put it and how long the path is, and particularly the name of the file you're downloading. So if you download this here, let's see, where's my zip file? So where did I put this? Yeah, so I have this game creator folder, spring 24. If you're getting assets thing, try to put it not within a folder, and then try to rename this smaller. So like puzzle 24. And not, I have it within a folder, maybe just put it on in your documents or your downloads folder or something like that, and then try to unzip it there. And see if that'll help. I'm still amazed that in this day and age, Windows has some rule on the maximum length of a path. I mean, that just seems so bizarre to me.
that's why we should work with it. They can tell them to spit that.
I thought they based it on Unix operating systems long ago. I thought they rewrote it, and Unix doesn't. I mean, that is just not something that should be happening today with modern operating systems. So I'm just, yeah. But you should be able to get it here, and then it should open up, and you should be able to run it. And it'll drop this marble down, and then you can hit space to activate certain objects, and you're trying to get your marble to this location, this end zone here. That's the whole puzzle. And then you can set up new puzzles to do that. So, and I'm still able to run this even though I'm getting this one error, and I'm not sure what this error is right now. This object target group weight control weight. Visuals target group weight control.
File path is still too long.
File path is still too long.
Other than that, just my user folder.
Try changing the name of your zip file, shortening the name of that file.
Okay.
Oh, no,
This?
yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, one more time.
One more time. Teaching what? Chris's.
Usually.
Yes, Chris should be teaching dog. So, have you got this book? You still want to make the bubble? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to run there. So let me show you the error with 41. Talk a little bit about debugging in Unity. So again, I'm getting an error. I was getting an error here, and it was telling me what file. It'll tell you, like, again, puzzle scripts, scenes, whatever the file is, and then the file number. I already got rid of it, so it's gone. But then I was able to go to project. It said inside the scripts folder, inside visuals, there's this targeting group. Wait, I was clicking on that, open it up, and it says line 41, there was an error. So then I just clicked on the default, which is to set it to a generic type, I think. So I put it this bar there rather than, let me see what it was before. It was depth of field, and we switched it just to a bar thing. Now you get a warning, but you don't get that error. And if you save it, it'll recompile it, and now you'll just get a warning for this, that it's deprecated or obsolete. But it still should run for this.
No.
Has anyone else been successful in opening this up?
Anyone at all?
Anyone? Anyone? So. Okay. Oh,
There's somewhere in how I put it.
yeah. So in which, you're in level 01 here, is that right? Yeah. So you're here at the sample example menu. And then you click on, does this come up like this? Huh.
Others of them are there to spot.
Oh, you have to complete level 1, I think, too. Yeah. So, and then when you're in level 1, where's the none showing up? What do you have clicked on the hierarchy?
Assets. Creator capabilities, scripts.
Yeah, that's okay. That, I mean, you don't need that there. You don't need anything in there, so. That's not that, I don't think that's your problem. Mine's null too, so. Okay, well. Sorry, this, I mean, I'll have to look at this some more. I don't know why it's working for me and not for you.
Express previous.
Yes. Here, so I'll try to look some more into that, but that is the idea, is that you're supposed to be able to download this version of it. So let's try another one and see how this one works, because this, we'll do this one a different way and maybe we'll learn. So the rollerball, I'm gonna wait till Thursday to do. Let's look at the RPG kit here for this. So so we're gonna set up the RPG kit in Unity 2023. for this. For this. So, I talked a little bit about how this is set up differently in the past, and we're gonna set this up and run this. So we're gonna set up a new project. So again, I'm in Unity Hub. I'm gonna create a new project. I'm gonna do a 2D core to start with, and we're gonna switch this over it's probably gonna switch to 2D URP eventually. So I'm just gonna do that. Gonna give it some name here. So RPG kit string 24. And once I have that project created, oops. It should open up. Oh, I keep opening this up with the wrong version. I need to edit it. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I have to have you guys download Unity 2022 and try that on some of these. I have you downloading 2023, not 2022. This is the long-term support version. So, okay, so then we're gonna find this Creator Kit RPG in the asset store. So again, open up an asset store window. If you Google Unity Asset Store or do something like that, find the Unity Asset Store. And we're gonna search for Creator Kit. RPG. We want to find this version that looks like this. And then again, just like before, we want to purchase this or add it to your assets here and set it up that way. So then once we get our new game started up, it's still starting up here, I see. We'll have to again go back into the package manager and import this into the package manager. Oh, good. What did you? Okay, in that one file. Huh. And then that worked. Okay. Maybe you can just send me the comment, send me a comment of what lines you commented out and I'll post that. So.
It did it. It unzipped.
What?
It unzipped.
Okay,
You know, we're like 10 minutes behind. It unzipped. This project is not valid. Wait a second.
What happened?
Yeah. Project
From this, great.
I hit, okay.
Go, try that again, add. Option disk, go inside, double click on CK. I'll click on that,
Um,
right.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah, if you're adding a project from disk and it says project or folder is invalid or whatever, it's probably got a folder within the folder or something like that. So usually you have to kind of look at that. And again, with this, we're going to go inside this once it's open and go to the package manager and add this package back in for this. So we're gonna get the package, add the package in, and then do it there. So. Okay, so I finally have my package opened up. This is sort of one of these courses where I wish we had faster computers on in these labs. So, okay. So I have a project. I'm gonna go to Windows Package Manager here. I'm going to go to My Assets and I'm going to look for RPG. And I want this Creator Kit RPG asset. So again, you will have to probably download it and then import it. It's going to overwrite your whole project. So it really doesn't matter what project you started with. So we're just going to say import, update and install. Now we haven't looked at the 2D version editor of in here. It looks basically the same, but again, the scenes are going to be 2D rather than 3D for this. The graphics are going to be 2D. If you do physics and that sort of stuff, they'll be 2D. So there's this whole kind of 2D sub-editor within the Unity editor for it. So Veronica's space key will move that one thing. So that's key to playing the puzzle game is the space keys, the one interaction you get.
I can launch it.
Okay, so I'm still importing this stuff. Yep, and here's all the new assets that are being imported. I want to leave those all selected, select new, next, import and override all these other settings. Import these assets. I think it has to restart the editor at some point in this process. Okay, everything's here. I think I can close this. I've got under my assets, the Creator Kit RPG folder is here. Underneath that, I've got scenes and there's a sample scene. And I click on that. Now, when I click on it, it says there's some issues here. Do you want to import the TMP essentials? I want to click on that to import that. Here, and then there's this input examples, and again, if you want to import that, you can. That's not actually needed. So now hopefully we'll actually imported that stuff. It should show the green assets and everything like this for this. So this is what our scene should be working with if you've got this running. You should be able to play this scene. Inside, you should be able to wander around, run into things, and go talk to other characters. Why this isn't clicking here. Okay, so that's, hopefully you can get this as an option 2 to run, and then there's a tutorial that you go through with this. Let me bring that up. So there's this getting started with this exploring, create a world to explore and enhance the world that talks to you. We're not going to be able to do, I mean, we're just going to get you started on this tutorial. And the whole idea is to try out, learn a little bit about 2D editing and stuff like that, explore this template scene and create these things. And a house, learn how to paint with something, what's called a tile map. I don't know if you've used tile maps before, but this tile map palettes and tile map painting is really common in 2D worlds. here, and then how you use that to add a house and window and that sort of stuff. But basically, we just want you to get through this first part where you create a world and add a person to your world for that. So, okay. So that's our goal on Thursday. We'll go through the rollerball tutorial, the rest of that, and then give you some time to choose one of these other tutorials. So hopefully we'll have one of these tutorials running and you can choose one of them. Questions on that? All right, why don't we wrap it up for the day? Let's stop.